Squid Game's final season had some really crazy moments, as well as some of the most shocking and scary in the whole show. In this video, we'll break them all down, so be sure to subscribe and let's get into it. The Hunter and the Hunted in hide and seek. Player 100, who is on the blue team, finds himself in a really bad spot. While hiding from the hunters on their murderous rampage, he finds a room where a body is already lying in a pool of blood. Thinking on his feet, he smears the blood all over himself and lies down, pretending to be dead in the hopes that no one will notice him. It was a move made out of pure fear, a last-ditch effort to survive the massacre that was happening all around him. His stillness and fake death show just how desperate the fear in the arena had become. The scene gets super intense to watch when the famously unhinged Namgyu walks into the room with the tough Munggi, also known as Player 333. Namgyu, completely high on his own power and the drugs he keeps taking, walks through the room with a chilling confidence. He sees the two bodies, one actually dead and the other being Player 100, holding his breath with every muscle screaming. The camera stays on this scene, stretching the moment until it's almost unbearable. Namgyu, in his crazy state, decides he wants to check the bodies. He walks over and, without even thinking, stabs the corpse that was already dead. The sound of the knife is sickening, but for Player 100, it feels like a preview of his own death. Namgyu then looks at him and casually says, "Are you pretending to be asleep?" Time feels like it stops. Player 100 is completely defenseless, his life depending on what a psychopath decides to do next. He only survives because Myung-gi gets impatient and wants to move on, a random bit of luck in a place where mercy doesn't exist. Player 44, the shaman, had built up this mysterious and protective vibe around herself. She got a group of followers from the blue team, promising them they would be safe if they listened to her psychic guidance. During the chaos of the hide-and-seek game, she led them through the maze, and her quiet, confident actions gave them a small bit of hope in the middle of the bloody labyrinth. Her followers were desperate for any kind of edge, so they put all their trust in her, thinking she was leading them to safety. This trust is what makes her betrayal so shocking and cruel. She leads her loyal followers to a door, telling them her holy hand led them to a safe spot. They see a circle lock and think it's an exit from the nightmare game. As she opens the door, her followers get ready to escape, their faces showing a mix of relief and hope, but the shaman doesn't go through. Instead, she closes the door and runs, leaving them behind, questioning why she left them. What comes out of the doorway isn't safety, but the deadly team of Myung-gi and Namgyu. The hunters had been waiting there to ambush them. The scene turns into a horrifying slaughter. The followers, who just a moment ago thought they were safe, are killed without any mercy. Their screams echo through the maze as the shaman runs away, never even looking back. It's a moment of pure, calculated evil, where she used their faith as a weapon and repaid their trust with a brutal death, and it makes for one of the scariest slaughters in the show. The fifth game, called Jump Rope Sa Settlement, was an exercise in escalating cruelty. Players had to cross a narrow bridge while a mechanical rope spun at deadly speeds. There was also a huge gap in the middle that they had to jump over perfectly. The game was already hard enough as a test of timing, agility, and nerve, but it quickly turned from a challenge into a one-sided massacre because of what one player did. Player 96, after he safely made it across to the other side, decides he can seriously boost his odds by just stopping anyone else from finishing. He plants himself at the end of the bridge, acting as a gatekeeper to survival, and starts to get rid of the competition one by one. He grabs the next person to finish and kicks them down into the pit below. The move is sudden and shocking, and it changes the entire game. This scene is a clear picture of how quickly the rules of society can fall apart. Player 100 is forced to beg and bargain just to stay alive. Other players slip because they are exhausted or are accidentally pulled down by others who lose their balance. Player 96's laughter as he watches them fall and pushes them is deeply unsettling. It takes Gi-hun, who is furious about the senseless violence, to finally stand up to him. Their fight is desperate, but Gi-hun eventually wins by pressing a finger into his eye and throwing him back onto the track, where he is swept away by the rope. His reign of terror is over, but not before the ground below is covered in bodies. Psychological horror was a huge part of the final season, and it was never more powerful than in the complete mental breakdown of Player 125, Min-soo. After he steals Namgyu's cross necklace, which had a few pills left inside, Min-soo's journey takes a very dark turn. After being called a coward, he takes one of the pills during the hide-and-seek game, and this choice spirals into a full-blown addiction and psychosis, leading him to kill the shaman. This mental breakdown hits its peak in the final game. As the players stand on a high pillar deciding who to eliminate, Min-soo is completely disconnected from the tense negotiations happening around him. He stares at the edge of the platform, grunting. He sees the ghostly hands of Thanos, a person from his past, and Namgyu clawing their way up the side. They are screaming at him and pulling at his legs, but only he can see them. The other players just watch in confusion and disgust as Min-soo kicks wildly at the air, fighting his invisible demons. His terror is real, a private hell that is playing out in front of everyone. When the group democratically decides that he should be the one to be eliminated, he is already in the corner apologizing for a crime that nobody else understands. In his final moments as Myung-gi comes over to push him, Min-soo sees a vision of his beloved Se-mi reaching her hand out to him. He grabs for her hand, and in that instant, he is shoved from the pillar and falls to his death. It's a tragic and terrifying end. A death caused not just by a push, but by a mind that had been completely broken. The final game, Squid Game, forced the last contestants into a horrifying kind of social agreement. On each of the 3 tall pillars, they had to eliminate at least one player to move on. This rule turned the game into a scary display of mob rule and calculated cruelty, and it led to one of the season's most disturbing ideas, the lunchbox. Their chosen victim is player 39. The 4 of them, including the brute player 203 and the opportunistic player 100, corner him. They hold player 39 down, and with a sickening crack, they break his leg. His screams are ignored. The act is methodical and horrific. They have dehumanized him, turning him into an object, just a placeholder for elimination. Gi-hun, disgusted by this brutality, tries to stop them, but a fight breaks out. In the end, after more players are eliminated, player 39 is left crippled and defeated. Knowing he is the designated lunchbox for the final round, he chooses to crawl to the edge and end his own life, robbing them of the satisfaction. His final act is one of defiance, but the cold-blooded idea of the lunchbox remains a chilling reminder of the player's ability to be strategically evil in a place designed to strip away the light from one's soul. The climax of the final round boils down the entire series into one terrifying, desperate fight. After a brutal brawl on the second pillar leaves only Gi-hun, Myung-gi, the baby, and the crippled player 39, the final act begins. Player 39 chooses his own way out, leaving the final 3 to face each other on the last red circle pillar. What should have been a simple showdown turns into a battle of wills filled with extreme tension. As Gi-hun gets ready to cross the bridge to the final platform, Myung-gi stops him with a pole in his hand, demanding that he hand over the baby. Myung-gi's motivation has always been to protect his child, but now, with the prize money so close, his fatherly instincts are at war with his greed. He threatens to let the bridge collapse, which would eliminate Gi-hun and the baby and make him the only winner. The psychological pressure is huge as Gi-hun is forced to trust the man who has been his rival, placing the baby on the bridge and backing away. Once both men are on the final pillar, the physical confrontation is immediate and savage. Myung-gi, in a moment of pure desperation, grabs his own child and holds her over the edge of the pillar, threatening to drop her if Gi-hun comes any closer. The fight that follows is a whirlwind of raw violence. Gi-hun, stabbed in the side, tackles Myung-gi, and both men tumble over the edge. In a heart-stopping moment, Gi-hun manages to grab onto a bar, catching Myung-gi with his jacket. They hang unknown hundreds of feet in the air, but the fabric gives way, and Myung-gi falls to his death. Gi-hun, the 2-time victor, hauls himself back onto the platform, alone with the baby, the silence of his victory more terrifying than any scream. The frontman's corruption. In a chilling flashback, the show reveals the true origin of the frontman's cold-blooded nature, taking us back to the night he won his own Squid Game. We see a younger, more conflicted Hwang In-ho, one of the last finalists, standing before the game's creator, Oh Il-nam. Just like Gi-hun, In-ho is presented with a horrifying choice, a knife and an invitation to eliminate his sleeping competitors to guarantee his survival and victory. The scene is drenched in a tense silence as In-ho walks back to the dorm, the cold metal of the knife in his hand. For a moment, he hesitates. We see the conflict in his eyes, the last remnants of his humanity warring with his desperate will to live and escape his debts. But unlike Gi-hun, who would later face the same test and choose mercy, In-ho succumbs to the darkness. He moves like a ghost from bed to bed, a predator stalking his unsuspecting prey. The sequence is a brutal and intimate display of horror. With methodical precision, he slits the throats of the other finalists, one by one. The sounds are sickeningly quiet, lost in the cavernous dorm. It's a horrifying butchery that serves to transform the shared space of survival into a personal slaughterhouse. When the sun rises, In-ho is the sole survivor, standing among the bodies of those he once considered allies. He has won the money, but in the process, he has murdered his own soul, taking the first and most crucial step on the path to becoming the merciless frontman. It was when he got the heartbreaking news that his wife and unborn child, whom he did all this for, had already died, that he finally broke down and joined the evil organization. So these have been the scariest moments in Squid Game Season 3. Which one did you find creepiest? Are there any we missed? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to see more Squid Game content and theories, click the video on screen now